steel wall. Nonetheless, the president signed the spending bill to avoid another government shutdown. The last one, as you know, was a complete disaster. Then on the same day, he declared a national emergency on the border with Mexico to gain access to billions of dollars that Congress refused to give him to build a wall that he claimed throughout his campaign, if you recall, Mexico would pay for it. Then he flew to Mar-a-Lago to enjoy an omelet and a few rounds of golf. So much for the national emergency. So what exactly is a national emergency, Juan? Well, basically, when the government's ordinary powers might be insufficient in a crisis and amending the law to provide greater ones might be too slow and cumbersome, emergency powers are enacted to give the government a temporary boost until the emergency passes or there is time to change the law through normal legislative processes. But here's what folks should know. The moment the president declares a national emergency, his powers increase dramatically. For example, the president can, with the flick of his pen, freeze the bank accounts of American citizens. He can assume control over all U.S. internet traffic. He can suspend habeas corpus and lock up individuals without charge. He can lock up select group of people like Roosevelt did to the Japanese during World War II. He can deploy troops in U.S. cities under the auspices of fighting crime or send the troops to those cities like New Haven that are deemed sanctuary cities as a means of arresting illegal immigrants and those who help them. He can target those he deemed dangerous gang members, drug dealers, whether they are or not. He can lock up his political enemies. He can suspend or even crush labor unions. He can shut down unfriendly newspapers or websites. He can even suspend the law that bars government testing of biological and chemical agents on unwitting human subjects. The Tuskegee experiment comes to mind. And of course, he can summarily end the Mueller investigation. And here's the scary part. The courts may not stop him. Now, several lawsuits have already been filed. Public Citizen and Advocacy Group filed suit on behalf of 3 Texas landowners whose property might be taken for a barrier. California and New York have announced they will sue. Other states, as you know, including Connecticut, are weighing their options. I'm sure they're going to sue. Another advocacy group, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, sued the Department of Justice on Friday for failing to provide documents, including legal opinions and communications related to the president's decision to declare this national emergency. And this past Saturday, the Center for Biological Diversity and Environmental Group filed another lawsuit in federal court saying the president has failed to identify a legal authority to take such an action. This is the quote. And Congress has not enacted any emergency legislation, even remotely related to border wall construction, and thus the president's reallocations of funds is unlawful. Now, this is quite interesting because back in 2014, Trump was among those Republicans who criticized President Barack Obama for using his executive authority to spare millions of illegal immigrants from deportation after failing to persuade Congress to do so. This is what Trump tweeted back then. And I quote, "Repubs must not allow President Obama to subvert the Constitution of the U.S. for his own benefit and because he is unable to negotiate with Congress."
So now, right now, there's a temporary restraining order for him enacting this, right?
No,
he did it.
He did it. It's going forward.
So he can go ahead and start doing whatever he wants to do until the courts rule against it.
Right, and even if the courts rule, they can appeal and goes all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, understand
while he continues to do whatever he wants to do,
absolutely.
with the money and everything.
Absolutely,
okay.
because national emergencies are nothing new. I mean, over
right.
5 dozen have been filed in the last 40, 50
years. How long do they last?
There are like a bunch of them still in place since the last ones were filed. So
wow.
Congress has the power to stop them, but they normally don't, and they just let them run. So he's basically. This thing could go on for time immemorial.
Wow, that's interesting.
So that's the problem. And here's the thing, Juan, and I want to close by saying this: we are on dangerous grounds because this is uncharted territory, and you have an unstable individual at the helm. You need to understand the danger facing the republic, facing this nation, and at this point, Congress is the last hope. If it only means frustrating the president's attempt to undermine the constitutions and the institutions of this country. Congress is the last hope.
Wow. Truth to power, my
There it
brother.
is.
Thank you for coming,
Stay
man.
tuned.
There you go. Stay
Thank
tuned,
you.
man. That's real. It's a real deal. Plus, brand new heavies and never stop. That's right. Keep it right here, YBC.